Hi guys! Welcome to You're My Mother! And hi guys! Welcome back sa Psycho Podcast! So, ang title ng kwentong ito is You're My Mothers! And ang kwento na to is kay Secret! Pero papangalanan natin siya, Jenoel!
Dear Psycho Podcast, your 51-year-old had a long road to reach her diagnosis of dissociative identity disorder, but is passionate about guiding others who suspect they have DID to seek advice. I am really keen to raise awareness for DID, a diagnosis I received at the beginning of the first lockdown in 2020. For me, this was only possible privately despite requesting for a formal assessment and diagnosis under the NHS. For those with the DID and other dissociative disorder, the likelihood of misdiagnosis is high. When dealing with DID, misdiagnosis leads to years of improper treatment and little or no symptoms reduction. For some symptoms may get worse, there is also continuing debate over the validity of DID. It is a common misconception that DID is rare. Some professionals may not recognize DID as a real and therefore do not diagnose it. Then there are those who believe DID exists but only in the exaggerated way that DID is often portrayed in the media. Both beliefs can contribute to a delay in getting the right diagnosis.
Grabe, friend.
Guys, nararamdaman niyo ba yung kwento ni Jenoel? Talaga palang may nakaka-experience ng ganito, guys. So, wag nating gawing joke and baliwalain lang.
Tama. Kaya kung gusto niyo ulit magpadala ng email mula sa amin at mabasa yung ganitong kwento, click niyo lang yan, guys. Thank you! Okay, guys, let's continue.
I have found several avenues that have helped me to get where I am today, with the correct diagnosis and finally an appropriate treatment approach for DID. The road is a long one and you need to persevere and fight for what you want and need. This is a massive ask for those affected by trauma due to learned or beliefs that they are inherently wrong, bad, undeserving, unworthy, and etc. Fighting for what you want and need may feel totally alien, lonely, and scary. For my own experience, it is essential you advocate for yourself, especially if you believe your diagnosis is wrong. Attempts to get a diagnosis under NHS may come to nothing. This does not mean you do not matter. This does not mean you are wrong. This is due to lack of awareness and acceptance of DID.
Now, let's talk about the DID disorder or dissociative identity disorder. Dissociative identity disorder is a mental health condition where a person develops two or more distinct identities or personalities, often called alters. These identities may have their own names, voices, memories, or behaviors. People with DID often experience memory gaps, lost time, or feel like they are observing themselves from outside of their body. DID usually develops as a coping mechanism in response to severe trauma or abuse during childhood. When a child's mind splits into different identities to protect itself from painful experience. In simple terms, DID happens when a person's mind creates different selves to survive overwhelming trauma. Each self may handle certain emotions, memories, or situation. Now, let's talk about the common misconceptions about DID. Sinasabi ng mga tao na yung mga tao daw na may DID are faking it. But the truth is that ang DID ay totoong sakit sa pag-iisip at kinikilala sa DSM-5 na libro, which is Diagnostic Manual ng mga psychiatrist. At hindi ito gawa-gawa o para lang sa atensyon. Pangalawa is that DID means that you have to split personality or you are crazy. Ayan yung common misconception ng mga tao. Pero ang totoo, the term split personality is misleading. Ang mga taong may DID ay hindi baliw. Hindi sila ay mga taong nakakaranas ng matinding trauma and develop different identities as a survival mechanism. Pangatlo is that sinasabi ng mga tao na yung DID disorder daw can be cured instantly with therapy. But the truth is, recovery is a long and gradual process. Therapy focuses on building safety, trust, and integration of memories, not erasing others. In summary, ang DID ay bunga ng matinding trauma noong kabataan. May iba't ibang personalidad o identity sa iisang katawan. And ang DID ay it's a real, complex, and deeply misunderstood. People with DID deserve compassion, not judgment. And with that, they don't need judgment. If you encounter a person who have a DID disorder, they need understanding and compassion. We don't have to be an expert to help them. Sometimes, just listening and being kind can make a huge difference, as well as make them feel included in this world. Because empathy can heal wounds and no medicine can reach.
What is mental health? Mental health is how our mind feels, thinks, and handle life. It affects our emotion, thoughts, relationship, and how we deal with stress or challenges. Mental health is something everyone has, and just like physical health, it needs care like taking a rest, having support, and making boundaries and healing. Whether you're thriving or just surviving, your mental health matters. It's not a weakness to talk about it. Mental health matters because you matter. There are common mental health problems that affect people often in ways that disturb their daily life and relationship. These issues are more widespread than many people realize, and they can affect anyone regardless of who you are. Some of the most common mental health problems include anxiety disorders, where people feel constant worry, panic, or fear. Depression causes deep sadness, low energy, and loss of interest in things. Bipolar disorder brings extreme mood swings, from high energy to deep to lows. OCD involves unwanted thoughts and repetitive actions, while PTSD can happen after a traumatic experience. Eating disorder like anorexia and bulimia affect both the mind and body. Other challenges include personality disorders, psychosis, and substance use disorder, which can make other mental health issues worse. These problems are not weakness or made up. They are real. These are diagnosable conditions that deserve understanding, support, and better treatment. With the right care, people can manage these symptoms, heal, and live a meaningful life.
Mental health is a very important part of our lives. It affects how we think, feel, and act every day. But sometimes, we go through things that can affect our mental health in a negative way. Some signs of poor mental health include feeling sad or hopeless most of the time, losing interest in things we used to enjoy, having trouble sleeping, or sleeping too much, and staying away from family or friends. Some people also feel tired all the time, easily irritated, or find it hard to focus and make decisions. These signs don't mean you are weak. They mean you need help, care, and understanding. Poor mental health can have many negative effects on our lives. It can make it hard to study, work, or get along with others. It can lower our confidence and make us feel like we're not enough. When ignored, it can lead to more serious problems like self-harm or thought ending one's life. That's why it's important to pay attention to how we feel and ask for help when we need it. If you or someone you know is struggling, please don't be afraid to reach out. Talk to a trusted friend, a teacher, family member, and counselor. Opening up is the first step to healing. Seeking help is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. Taking care of your mind is just as important as taking care of your body. Let's support one another and break the stigma around mental health. Remember, it's okay to not be okay. And it's always okay to ask for help because your mental health matters.
Now, we discussed the 6 theories of mental health. Number 1, behaviorism. Behavioral theories hold that actions are determined largely by experience. In other words, behavior is learned. As a result, explanation and treatments rely on principle of learning, or process by which behavior changes in response to the environment. Behavioral therapy seeks to identify behaviors that are causing a person problems and then tries to replace behaviors with principle of operant conditioning, classical conditioning, and modeling. Number 2, the psychodynamic theory. Like behavioral theories, psychodynamic theories believe that actions are determined largely by life experience. Impact of psychodynamic theories rests on the assumption that all behavior is determined by past experience. No symptom or behavioral is accidental. According to Ronald Comer in Abnormal Psychology, Sigmund Freud believed that 3 central forces shape personality. The ID contains instinctual needs, the ego employs reason, and the superego represents a person's values and ideals. 3. The cognitive theory. The cognitive model asserts that cognitive processes are at the center of behaviors, thoughts, and emotion. Proposed by Albert Elias and Aaron Beck, cognitive theory emphasizes what people think instead of what they do. Several types of cognitive problems, like assumptions, attitudes that are disturbing and inaccurate, and types of illogical thinking such as overgeneralizations, can lead to abnormal functioning. Number 4, the biological theory views mental illness as having a physical or medical cause. This approach includes the influence of genetics, brain chemistry, and neurobiology, and it informs treatment like medication. It says who we are and how we act is largely influenced by our biology, our body, and brain. Number 5, humanistic theory. Humanistic theory emerged in the mid-20th century as a response to both behaviorism and psychoanalysis, opting to emphasize human potential, self-determination, and the present moment. Develop person-centered therapy based on the principle that people naturally move toward growth and healing when provided with empty and unconditional positive regard. Unlike other psychological theories focused on pathology, humanistic theory highlights innate capacities for psychological health and self-actualizations. And the last is social theory. The social learning theory, developed primarily by Albert Bandura, bridge behavioral and cognitive approaches by explaining how people learn through observation rather than direct experience alone. This theory introduced the concept of observational learning, where new behaviors are acquired by watching others perform them and noting the consequence. And that's the sixth theories of mental health.
Hey there! To end our episode, Psycho Podcast is a space where we talk openly, honestly, and fearlessly about the mind, emotions, and everything in between. If you've been feeling tired, lost, or just not okay lately, this one's for you. Always remember, taking care of your mental health is not a sign of weakness. It's an act of courage. Healing doesn't always look like big steps forward. Sometimes it's simply waking up, trying again, and giving yourself permission to rest. Your mental health matters just as much as your physical health. Healing is not always about moving fast. Sometimes it's about allowing yourself to pause, breathe, and simply be. Every small step you take toward understanding yourself is a victory.